Welcome again. With that, we have come to the last session of the day. This will be a fireside chat, and we will get some interesting insights from an expert from the automotive industry. You may wonder what kind of learning we can get from the automotive industry. Is that resemble the newspaper industry situation? How the technologies disrupt their business, and the newspapers can expect such similar disruptions in the future. And most importantly, uh, what the automotive industry thinks about newspaper and how it is relevant in growing their business. So these kind of questions will be answered through this discussion. To discuss this, we have Mr. Carl Alexander Seidel, CEO of Daimler Bus India, and Mr. R.D. Bhatnagar, Chief Technology Officer of DB Corp Limited, publisher of Dainik Bhaskar newspaper. Before we introduce Mr. Seidel, I would like to give a brief introduction about Mr. Bhatnagar. He is a professional with a career of 36 years experience in print and production and information technology of leading corporates in India. He is working with a vision to change the DB Corp, an IT-led organization from a traditionally run print media. Mr. Bhatnagar, better known as an innovator and trendsetter in the technology sector for media. He was also awarded amongst 100 most innovative CIO of India in 2016. So with that brief introduction, I hand over the session to Mr. Bhatnagar to introduce Mr. Seidel and start the discussion. Over to you, Mr. Bhatnagar. Thank you.
Namaste, friends. As we all know, on March 25th, we all were told to lock our businesses, offices, markets, and just get inside indoors till further notice. We didn't know what was happening, but we were forced to get inside our houses and lock inside. Look how unprecedented this has been and unheard of such a situation by this living generation as of now. The entire world got indoors and gradually started working from home, WFH as came to be known now. So while we have been working from home, did it really help all the industries? As the majority of the industries needed hands and feet on the shop floors to keep their businesses continuing. So while we as newspaper industry have tried our own means and worked out strategies for survival, other industries too had to modify their business rules and prepare to be back in business as the lockdown opens up. Let's listen and observe the lessons from other industry stalwarts, how they dealt with COVID-19 and what is their strategy moving forward. Today amongst us, we have Mr. Carl Alexander Seidel, CEO of Daimler Bus in India. So he has been in India for the past 12 years and has seen India go through thick and thin. So let's welcome him and let's join in the session while I take some questions about the industry, how they faced it and what their strategies were. So let me just give you a brief introduction of Mr. Carl. After graduating with a diploma in electrical engineering from Porsche AG Stuttgart, he started his career as Daimler and held a variety of management functions in the fields of reporting, business development, product planning, and so on. Many in Daimler's commercial vehicle division as well as TASIAP GmbH in Stuttgart. Since then, he has headed various functions, including logistics, supplier and quality management, and operations at Daimler Buses India. Mr. Carl has assumed his new role as head of Daimler Buses India in May 2020, which is very recent. So prior to this, Mr. Carl was working as a part of the team that established Daimler India commercial vehicles in 2008 and 2009. That's when I think he got exposed to the Indian environment. In this function, he is responsible for the development, production and sales of Bharat-Benz buses, Mercedes-Benz luxury coaches and bus chassis for India, as well as exports of bus chassis and fully built buses to market in Africa, Latin America, the Middle East and Southeast. So let's welcome Mr. Carl. There has to be applause. I don't know if people can really applaud now in the virtual world, but let's welcome him and let's, take some questions with him, how we dealt with, the situation as we did in our industry. So welcome, Mr. Karl, to this virtual fireside chat.
Thank you, Mr. Bhatnagar, for this nice introduction. And it's always nice to hear from other mouth how my life went till date. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, so let's begin with, asking you a question. How do you relate automotive businesses to newspaper industry?
Well, newspaper industry, as far as I know, especially in India, is a fast growing and big growing industry. So in other countries it's different, but here over the past decades, newspaper industry was growing tremendously. If my numbers are correct, then post the independence, there was roughly 200 daily papers. We are now more than 100,000, so that is tremendous.
Yeah.
And this is similar also to the automotive industry. Automotive industry has grown from the 40s, 50s of the last century till today so tremendously that last year India was the 5th biggest automotive market of the world and
Wow.
the 7th biggest market for commercial vehicle industry. So therefore, both are growing industries, and therefore I think we have the same greediness to grow. We have the same views on how to do entrepreneurship, and therefore I see there are a lot of similarities.
Fantastic. It's so nice to know that. And in fact, in automotive industry is one of the industries that is also now looking at, it's bouncing back. So the news that is coming about automotive industries in the past week is also quite encouraging. While automotive industry is at a verge of disruption due to technology like EVs and autonomous vehicles, has the pandemic allowed the opportunity to transform the production processes? How is Dalmor responding to this situation?
Well,
you have challenges from both sides. One is the pandemic, and the other is, of course, on the technological disruption that is happening.
In fact, I would say the pandemic has, on one hand, supported and accelerated the introduction of modern technologies like digitization, work from home, and also protection of the employees in the plant forces us to think in new ways. Therefore, the digitalization is definitely supported and accelerated by the pandemic. On the other hand, we already started earlier with topics like localization, like going into robotic, into automation and digitization. So therefore, it was nothing new for us, but accelerated, definitely. Especially in the production process, we had already a high degree of automation on the truck side. Maybe for explanation, Bus India is part of Daimler India Commercial Vehicles, where we produce trucks and buses, and we have a big hall for the trucks, and another part of the plant is buses. In bus industry is not so automated because we are highly customized. So therefore, the automation degree is relatively low. In the truck side, we have an automated cabin white block. We have an automated paint shop. So there, the automation is already high. What we started recently is looking really how can we avoid the paper processes, go more virtual, also to protect our people in the day-to-day work. So that is how this we're growing. You mentioned electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles. Well, for India, I see that more as the pandemic, more as a deceleration factor, as this is highly dependent from the infrastructure that has to be built. And due to the lockdown, all these activities were on hold. So therefore there, it's more postponing by another 6 or 8 months of these activities than acceleration. But for the companies itself, it's an acceleration of the digitization and automation.
Great. I think this is one of the positive sides of pandemic that happened to most of the industries. While as an outsider, like being from newspapers, I could see that, you had a different set of challenges in addition to pandemic. Do you see similar disruption coming to coming for the newspaper industry? Means, as an outsider, do you see any technological disruptions or any disruption in the customer behavior that you see for the customer for the newspaper industry?
Well, what I see is in the last recent years that also in the newspaper industry, you are more and more becoming with digital solutions. And I assume that the pandemic will accelerate also here, the go into the digital world. So there, I think the transformation away from the paper towards a digital version will be also supported. However, also I'm more a traditional guy. I like my newspaper in paper in the morning with my cup of coffee. So I don't think that this will diminish completely. But definitely I see that a lot of guys are now looking more on their own e-readers for a daily newspaper rather than going to a kiosk and buying a newspaper.
So it was heartening to know that you still want to read your newspapers. That's what will keep our lights on. Okay, what forced transformation do you see happening at your company during this pandemic? So what was one major, a forced transformation that you had to do within your industry to sort of cope with this, or maybe take you to the future?
You mentioned 24th, 25th of March this year, where the lockdown was declared. From that day onwards, we were forced to work from home. So therefore, this was the biggest change and the biggest transformation that we had to learn new ways of collaborating and working together. It was well prepared from our IT guys, especially, to enable in short-term notice for all employees the possibility to have powerful laptops or enabling the Wi-Fi connections, so that really everybody who needed the support could get it and that we could work from day one virtually together. There were, of course, learning processes. If you work from home, you have not the comfort to walk from room to room and to breathe between two meetings, then the meeting is back to back. But also this, we learned how to cope with that and to look for breaks in between. So therefore, this was the biggest transformation. What we also had was we learned to take care more of our people's personal life and health. So we started an initiative that we distributed a so-called Wealth app, where we provide on a daily basis tips for how to make nutrition healthy, how to make breaks in between, for meditation, for yoga, checking the health status by himself, offering helpline for guys who needs to talk. So that was also something which we initiated, and this is also a transformation that we now are very close to our employees for the personal support. And of course, we supported the project that we already thought of before the pandemic to do more digital in all our processes. So for example, with all our after-sales processes, we updated our app, which is called ProServe, where we offer to all our customers the processes and applications online now. He needs not to go to the dealership for all activities. He can book his slots online. He can get information about all the services via this app, and needs not to go personally in. So all these digitization projects also were enforced and accelerated. This is another transformation that came in.
Oh, that's good. That just brings you, very closer to your employees as well as all your stakeholders and customers. So digitization in a way has also given you a great advantage. So what are your personal views on automation like robotics versus traditional means of production processes, and why?
Well, me personally, I'm a big supporter of automation and also robotics and artificial intelligence. Coming from my past, we mentioned that I studied electrical engineering, and I started with Porsche. My first project there was the automation of the production line in the test and finish. So therefore, from day one, I'm a big fan of that. However, we have to look where it's really beneficial and where not. When I mentioned the bus assembly is highly customized, and therefore there are limits to automation. Wherever it's possible, definitely we should go for it, but we should have a benefit. And this is always a balance between what do we invest and what do we gain out of that. Where I'm a big supporter is the digitalization. And I mentioned we have initiated a lot of projects, roughly 24 are running currently, in order to go away from the paper processes towards the digitalization. And there I'm a big fan. Then this brings efficiency and also enables us to reach out to customers, even if we cannot meet them in person.
Mm-hmm. So, well, yeah. So basically interaction between customers and you as a company has become duplex, so that, you know, people can interact with you on the same channel. And
not only between us and the customer, also the customer itself can communicate with the products. For example,
with the product,
we recently launched with Fireside Stage 6 our Truck Connect and Bus Connect. So the Bus Connect has two properties. One is the operator of his bus fleet can check every bus, the status, what is the fuel consumption, what is the occupancy in the bus currently, where is the bus currently, when it will arrive, can predict the route. And on the other hand, the passenger can dial in with an app and book his seat, can get an alert when the bus is reaching his pickup point, can have an entertainment app. So therefore also the communication between the product and the customer itself is now enabled.
Oh, that's very great to hear, because I also experienced once, because I had taken a bus journey from Mumbai to Bangalore on a Bharat Benz. And that's where I got to interact with that app, and I could see where the bus was and where and how much time would it take to come to my pickup point. That's really fantastic, and what a convenience it is. What is your message, would like to give to other businesses on how to strategize post-COVID? One of your, the biggest learnings that that will take you to the future, which you did and which was not there before the pandemic, and you built it during the pandemic, and will continue to be as a part of your SOP, in the future as well. So what are those kind of strategies that we need to look at?
Well, in terms of what was not there before, I would say there I have not a big learning, but what was enforced was coming together with our partners. So what we learned in the pandemic is that you have to stick together in order to fight against what is coming up. So what we did with our suppliers and also with our dealers, we were in close contact, and we looked at within our supply chain, we could help the suppliers surviving, also delivering under certain conditions. Also in our dealerships, we looked at also the dealer personnel are healthy, and that also the dealers could participate, for example, in our activities in wealth, etc. So that was something that we learned, and this is my message. In these kind of situations, stick together and work together with all your stakeholders and partners. The other topic, definitely, we should look now for the post-COVID situation. What will be the new situation, and we have to prepare now in order to cope with that. That means the customer demands might be different. So we have to look now for solutions. What will the customer look for in future? For automotive business, that means customer is now highly alerted towards bacteria and virus. So we will now look into how can we guarantee that our buses are COVID safe. So we will offer their different features. For newspapers, I think you have to look for how do you guarantee that the newspapers delivered are in a safe environment, or sealed in vacuum, or whatever. So I think these kind of topics, how do we react now under this new demands? This is something which we have to look for.
Yeah, that's such heartening to know that you will be using technologies and methodologies to make your buses safe from COVID and of course other viruses. We in newspapers also have tried a lot of other means, because we have to actually, our newspapers have to pass through many hands before it reaches you. But in spite of this long chain, we have, tried to ensure that while it comes out of the press and reaches your home, it actually passes through all those sanitization processes. But one of the most scientific thing that I would like to highlight here is, because newspaper being the most porous substance, it is porous than even the packing cases that comes to you. Newsprint is very, very porous. And we use a lot of hydroxyl based, solvents while producing a newspaper. It sinks, and then we use fountain solutions. It's a mix of water and some solution, which are, like sanitizers, because it is a hydroxyl group which is normally used in soaps. So it is already a pre-sanitized product. But yes, we'll have to, break through in terms of the perception the people now have that everything now comes to their hands, and in hands is actually prone to COVID or coronavirus. So that's where we need to sort of build that perception, or also prove it based on certain lab tests. Now, one of my very interesting questions is that, and it actually makes a lot of sense for all people in newspaper, is, will newspapers be relevant to you in growing your business? Or would you switch over to any digital platform for that matter?
Well, we as Daimler, we use all media to also reach our customers, and newspapers is definitely one of the biggest medium that we can use. Coincidentally, just today are 2 articles in the press about Daimler India, where I was interviewed for the current situation. So coincidentally, it's a proof. Newspapers is important for us, and this will also be in future. You have the biggest reach to customers, and that definitely will be relevant for us as well.
So this is a very good news to our ears. And now, friends, we have few minutes here where you can also post your questions for Mr. Carl, and or me. We will be both happy to answer if you have any other questions which I have taken, and if you have any questions which are beyond what we asked. So Jay Ganesh, would we be taking any questions direct from the panelists, from the audience, or you would curate and send those questions to us?
I have just in the chat box, I pasted the questions, sir, from the audience.
Okay.
Can you see that?
I can see. So I think the first question, I think, is again to Mr. Carl. Humanless robotic operations are regular and common in automobile industry. Whether such automation possible or be replicated in printing industry. So, okay. So primarily this question seems to be, I can answer this because related to printing industry. Within printing industry also, you would have seen a lot of automation which was there even prior to pandemic. Like you saw automatic guided vehicles, you have automatic plate changers, you have, automatic changing methodologies on the press. So these automations will continue even after pandemic, this will continue. But it will all be, have to be seen how much value it is bringing to us as well as to our stakeholders. Because we in India, that we are already a overpopulated country. So we need to only, look at automation which will bring in efficiency, just not to curtail on manpower, but to really add some value to the business. So that's my answer to the first question. Second question was, how do you find balance of automation versus pre-COVID manufacturing process in automotive industry? What new things you did in the pandemic's major transformation? So this is what Carl, I think this is a repetitive question, but I think you would want to take it.
This is mainly what I said already, mainly the digitalization processes. This is what we accelerated to implement during pandemic. So this is mainly the innovation that we brought.
Okay. The next question, I think also maybe can be answered by you. Automotive industry is known for automation and robotics. Need your guidance and support for making newspaper industry to maximum automated level. Your opinion, please.
Well, as also you, as Bhatnagar said, we have to balance what is really required and where is the benefit. I make a very simple example as an outsider from newspaper industry. For me, the input for the newspaper is always what a journalist will write. And I cannot imagine that you can automate a journalist and the brain. So therefore, this part you will never automate.
Correct.
So everything what is then to produce something on paper, I think there you can look for optimization and automation, but still the human being will be a significant part as the brain which is printed in the newspaper. So therefore you have to find the right balance, and wherever it's a benefit in order to protect the people or to have efficiency, there automation makes sense.
So the next question is quite interesting here. In future, during the automation process and new innovation, is there any possibility during the accident time to avoid major damages in vehicles on roads, basically during the accident, and save human lives? So while you answered that you're already working to make it COVID-free or COVID-safe, what are the other precautions that Dalmor is looking at in automating?
Well, if you look at the automotive industry in total, there are a lot of features already in the passenger cars and in the trucks and also in some buses, which are protecting the passengers or the people in the traffic. Be it an active brake assist, be it a driver sensing if he's falling asleep or not, so a driver fatigue system. So there are a lot of innovations already existing, and we try to balance out what is really beneficial to the customer, where he benefits immediately, or is it something that is just a nice gimmick, which is in the Indian traffic not requiring. And this is where we are permanently screening what we bring in which time in order to benefit for the customers. But definitely there will be systems which come to protect the passengers, the drivers, and also the guys on the road.
One question is that how did you manage your manpower during the lockdown? Did you operate at around 50% just like newspaper or any other industry?
Well, we followed what the government was allowing us. So when the lockdown was relieved a little bit, we started with a small group in the production. That was not to the maximum extent of 50%. We started slowly. We made all precautions measures. We looked that really the people are safe, and only when that was proven, then we ramped slowly up to 50%. And since we are allowed to run with 100%, we ramped up in the shop floor to roughly 70% of the personnel. And for white collars, we still encourage work from home to keep the people safe.
One interesting question again. So are you collaborating with your competitors in this new environment? And if yes, how? So we, within our fraternity as well, so we all publication groups, formed a group, sort of a task force, and we also used to discuss a lot of common issues there, and we didn't feel like competitors there, and we were all together. So were you also collaborating with your competitors in this?
Well, we have as automotive industry in India, we have this Society of Indian Auto Manufacturers, SIAM, and in this society we come together and discuss common topics, and also of course we have there a group related to COVID and how to deal with that. So yes, there is a certain kind of collaboration under the guidance of SIAM.
So, but within CM, do you also discuss any competitive features that you have in your product?
Well, due to antitrust law, we are not supposed to exchange these details. We cannot talk about what measures do we do in our products, etc. This is more a general exchange of what the protection of the people are there. How do we react as the industry itself, not for individual companies. The reason is the antitrust.
How is your sale in Daimler? Was it in tune with your last year? How did it went? How did it go? Or was it absolutely down during pandemic? And how much time do you expect that you would be back to normal?
Well, if I compare 2019, we had a total industry volume for buses of roughly 43,000 buses. This year, till August end, in the industry, we only sold 12,500. So that means we will end up this year maybe with between 15 and 20,000. So that means the total industry volume is 50% down, roughly.
50% down.
And subsequently, also, we could not stay at the same level. We are not Superman. So therefore, also our sales and our production went down, obviously. Luckily, in there, I'm proud of, we performed a little bit better than the average of the industry. But in total, we also are down significantly.
What is the outlook? How much time do you think that you would be able to sort of be back in action with your previous year numbers?
Well, it's hard to predict. Looking to Europe, in Europe, the complete intercity and coach market is down. So currently only the city bus segment in Europe is alive, which is only 30% of the overall business. And the prediction is that this will be down also in 2021.
Oh,
because in Europe, people are very careful in taking buses currently for more than only the day-to-day work. Looking into India, I think the situation will be a little bit different. As India is more agile and more used to these kind of crises, I assume personally that the recovery will be faster than in Europe for the bus business. However, I think that we will come back to the 2019 level, not before 2022.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karl. I think we have taken a lot of insights from you. And I hope all my friends who have been in part of this webinar would have also got a lot of insights of what they can do in the future. Thank you very much, Mr. Karl, for being with us.
Thank you for the invite. It was a pleasure to be with you. Ms. Bhatnagar, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Seidel, for your valuable thoughts and joining with us in this evening and joining us in this conference. And also I thank Mr. Bhatnagar for making this discussion very insightful and interesting. So with that, we come to the end of day one. I thank all the speakers and the participants and our sponsors and exhibitors, PPI Media and News Tech. See you tomorrow. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.